that could be perhaps 1%.
And they do that for everybody, because they tell people go to it. They go, to get you on insurance, I'm going to give you this diagnosis. There's literally close to 1,000 different ones. Sure. Even criticizing the government seen as a mental illness now. They have over 100 designations there. And this isn't your opinion. In the bill that the current White House Chief of Staff introduced last year when he was in the House of Representatives from Illinois, and he supported the total Chicago gun ban, the D.C. gun ban.
Sure.
Holder argued before the Supreme Court for a total gun ban. I mean, this is what they do. They've introduced that bill again, and I know you know this, but for the audience, that says you'll be federally tested and federally licensed, and all your psychological records must be provided by you in indentured servitude. You go before a federal board. That's how they basically banned guns in New York 30, 40 years ago, saying, oh, you can get a gun once you go to our board, once you get a psychological test, and then they just don't have the board meet once every 6 months, and you can't get on the list, so through bureaucracy, you never get the gun.
And even if they give you an opinion, what do? You don't have a court trial there. You don't have any due process there. You're flat out of luck. It's just some folks that have some process that you may not even be aware of, and they render an opinion that says, we don't find you fit to own a gun.
Now, they do that by fiat. When you can't get a gun, then you call, then you got to file paperwork, pay for a lawyer yourself, and then maybe get a hearing with a kangaroo court.
It'll be a kangaroo court because it'll be a hearing that considers a record that's already been produced by this body that screwed you to begin with. It's not as if you go into a court where you're supposed to have a clean slate. The government is accusing you. The burden of proof is on them. And then you start from there to build a record in a normal trial proceeding. The trial that they'll be talking about is more like an appeal, where the only thing that can be considered is the record brought in from the lower, quote, court. Well, since they've already got about for instance, when the BATFE does this right now to dealers with their administrative law procedures, there's a 95% zapping of the dealer. So if a poor dealer wants to appeal to a federal court, even though the law says the court's supposed to give him that brand new trial, they don't. They accept the record of the bureaucrats.
So what's happening? Yeah. So they're putting our entire Second Amendment into a bureaucratic system, expanding the narrow bureaucratic powers they got under the 68 Gun Control Act to fully savage the Second Amendment outside any judicial system.
Outside is the key, because that was supposed to be, short of the bullet box, the jury box was supposed to be our ultimate defense of our free society, of our free state, to use the term of the Second Amendment. And if the jury isn't even involved, they're so afraid of us that even though they often feed us like mushrooms and get juries to do things that if the jurors really knew what was going on, they wouldn't rule the way they do. But they don't even want to take that chance, and so they just bypass the jury altogether, because when you go into that federal court, the jury's never going to, if there is a jury, they're never going to hear any of your real case, because that's already been, quote, presented at the lower court, and they got it all structured and jiggered against you. A kangaroo court is a very apt description.
Well, the good news is, I've seen the numbers from the FBI, 44%, the previous highest record, now 4 months running with guns being purchased and ammo being purchased. And if they try to, with this bureaucratic thing, not let people have the forms, that's just going to make people understand how real this is. And so I think they're overreaching right now, and I think it's going to backfire, because I've seen the polls. You're more aware of this than I am, but back in the 70s and 80s, they brainwashed close to half the public to support more reasonable and, quote, gun control. But since then, I see most of the polls 70, 75, 80%.
Correct.
The young people are into it. Liberals, I know, are buying guns. They learned mistrust of government under Bush. Now they're starting to not trust Obama. People are really fundamentally getting it now, and we're winning the hearts and minds, and the gun culture, the Second Amendment culture this country was founded on. You know, it all started, folks, when the Redcoats came to take the guns. I think we're going to kick their ass. I'm sorry to use that term.
Well, I hope that's correct. I see what you're talking about, and you're not making that up. On the other hand, we can't forget that the government schools have been doing their job, and they've been cranking out lots of voters that think it's really cool to vote against freedom, against liberty. I have no idea what
Sure,
a Bill
but
of
my
Rights.
point is, I'm not saying we're even winning. We're showing some fight. We're growing. They're moving against us, and I'm telling folks,
True.
This is the fight. This is 1776 Part 2.
True. That, in that sense, I think you are correct, and I would agree, because they are going to substantially alienate a significant minority of the American people, and the arrogance that I've seen in Obama, which seems to go along with his South Chicago thuggishness, could very well end up turning people off. And, well, let's hope so.
Well, the left, he's gone back on every promise to them. We're starting to see cracks in the facade as they realize he's bought and paid for by the very same interest. You know, what I'm getting at here, Larry Pratt, is I don't want them to come after the guns, but I know they've been creeping around trying it forever. And in a way, part of me just says, you know what? Let's go ahead and get this show on the road. You know what? You just want to keep pushing and pushing. I know how the country was founded. I know how it's going to be founded again. You can't help it. You're going to use the military against the Second Amendment. The military is going to come over to our side, and we're going to arrest every one of you foreign bankers that have been running your scams, and we're going to try you with a jury of your peers, and you're going to the Hooskow.
Well, better sooner than later, because they are, in the long run, working a very effective plan to dumb down the American people. And if they overplay their hand now, better now than sometime in the future. I quite agree that sooner rather than later would be to our favor.
Yeah, let's get the show on the road, whether that be peaceful or whatever it is. Let's, defend the Republic to the end. Larry Pratt, I want to really thank you for spending time with us in these very, very dark days. But we will continue to track all of this at Gun Owners of America, gunowners.org. And folks can also call the 703-321-8585 number. Is that good as well?
That'll work too, and that's what people often call if they have some question about a legislative issue. That's where our policy guys are.
And folks, don't think they're omnipresent. If you see gun bills introduced at your state level or federal, or you see things going on, or you see gun grabbers giving anti-American speeches, let Gun Owners of America know, because they're on YouTube now and Facebook, and they got a Web 2.0 site, and they're in, they are kicking hind end. And Larry Pratt, it's just great being associated with you. God bless you.
Well, same here. Thanks so much, Alex.
You bet. There he goes, ladies and gentlemen. Larry Pratt, the head of Gun Owners of America. Do you understand how dark it is? How far down the line we are? How late it is?
Hi, this is Ted Anderson. Have you ever wondered why banks, stockbrokers, investment advisors won't talk about gold for your IRA? The financial industry refuses to recognize the value of real hard assets for your retirement. The truth be told, gold and silver has outperformed paper investments like stocks, bonds, and CDs, yet no word about IRAs. Perhaps the financial institutions want to maintain control of your assets by keeping you in paper. If you'd like to take a look at gold for your retirement, call 800-686-2237. Don't get left behind by rising inflation and low return on your paper investments. Call 800-686-2237. Make sure that you secure your future. Call 800-686-2237. That's 1-800-686-2237.